The person we are welcoming today finds inspiration in Nelson Mandela, but also in her parents.
My father, Joe Slovo, and my mother, Ruth First, both were communists. They were some of the few white South Africans who could not close their eyes to what was happening in that country.
Gillian is closely linked to these tragic historical events. Her father, Joe Slovo, was the president of the South African Communist Party and one of the founders of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Her mother, Ruth First, was a journalist at The Guardian. She was arrested in 1963, just like Nelson Mandela, because of her anti-apartheid convictions and activities.
After '94, which was the first South African's democratic election, my father became Mandela's Minister of Housing. And my mother, who was a journalist when she came to England, became an academic, went back as near as she could to South Africa as soon as she could. She went to independent Mozambique, worked as an academic in the university there. But in 1982, she opened a letter that had been sent to her by the South African police, and it contained a bomb, and she was killed by it. My parents' commitment was part of what has defined the way I see the world. My parents were part of the generation of Mandela and Walter Sisulu and Oliver Tambo, those great people who changed the whole history of South Africa. My mother was one of the people who, as a journalist, exposed the scandal of the Bethel potato farms. The police were arresting black people on pass offences, i.e. for not being where their pass says they're allowed to be. And then instead of taking them to court and charging them with those offences, they were selling them to white farmers who took them, particularly to the potato farms, and actually used them as slave labour.
Therefore, Gillian Slovo decided to perpetuate the values established by her parents. The importance of being connected to the world, the importance of love, the importance of forgiveness, and most of all, the importance of being ambitious in a world trying to hold back who you are and trying to hold back your character.
I think mostly what I choose to write about is what really interests me. And so I decided that I would write a book about South Africa. Unlike most white South Africans, I feel like I understood what happened in that country, and I understand it because my parents were part of it. My parents were unusual in what they did because they changed their world. They struggled for something that was really important to them and that was important to other people. And that struggle took a very long time. But in the end, they won.
Gillian Slovo is a highly talented novelist and playwright. She wrote several books and plays and received 2 prizes: the Orange Prize for Fiction in 2004 and the Golden Pen Award in 2013.
And one of the great ironies of my father's life was that at the point when he realized that they had won, he also realized he had a cancer that was going to kill him pretty fast. He was a lucky person. His commitment may have cost him swimming pools and security, and it may have cost his children difficulty, anxiety, and some trauma. But in the end, what he did and what my mother did changed the world. And there's not many people who can say that. And I guess all of us in our own ways should be striving to do that as well.